Stan was totally obsessed with the beach.
Beach! Beach! Beach!
He dove straight into the ocean and immediately saw some guys having a blast with jet boots. He quickly called Steve over to join, but Steve was terrified. He was always afraid there might be sharks in the water. To prove there was nothing to fear, Stan swallowed an entire bucket of sand right there. The next second, he passed out cold. Luckily, Roger revived him with some pretty intense CPR.
Here. How about you guys? And what's this? Oh, hello.
To help Steve get over his fear of sharks, Stan took him all the way out to the middle of the ocean. Steve was scared out of his mind, but Stan suddenly pushed him into the water. Just then, Steve saw a shark swimming straight toward him. What he didn't know was it was actually Roger in disguise. The sudden attack scared Steve to death. Roger slipped away once his job was done. Stan excitedly congratulated Steve for conquering his fear, but Steve turned around and mocked the shark for being a coward. That made Roger furious. He bit off one of Steve's arms.
Because I dominated a freaking shark!
Stan was completely panicked. At the hospital, he forced Roger to cough up Steve's arm, but just as Stan was about to reattach it, Steve decided his wound was a badge of courage, so Stan secretly hid the arm away. From that point on, Steve started doing more and more extreme bravery stunts. The two even jumped off a cliff together. Stan loved how confident Steve had become. That night, they climbed up a bridge. Steve walked along the edge. Roger thought Steve was out of control, but Stan thought he was doing amazing. Then Steve started performing all kinds of dangerous stunts, and Stan was incredibly proud. But after that, Steve's behavior became more and more extreme. He picked fights at the drop of a hat, and even when he was beaten black and blue, he just smiled, realizing things had gotten way too serious. Stan tried to knock some sense into him, but Steve was convinced it was now the bravest person alive. With no other choice, Stan confessed the whole truth. When Steve learned the truth, he fainted on the spot. Later, when Stan went to visit his son at the hospital, Steve had vanished without a trace.